alternative culture. Be stylish. Be seductive. Be cynical. Cynical.
Today's episode is brought to you by our new sponsor, Nefarious by Design, a one-stop shop for all your adult healthcare and lifestyle needs. Whether you're exploring kink for the first time or you're a seasoned connoisseur, Nefarious by Design has you covered. From over 15,000 products like aquatic personal stimulators and zebra print lingerie to full dungeon setups, restraints, and high-quality machines, this isn't your average toy store. They carry all the major brands you know and love, such as Blush, Womanizer, XR Brands, and so many more. Their personal machines and dungeon furniture are especially hot right now. Sinical listeners get 30% off select items and free shipping on U.S. orders over $55. They also offer international shipping. Want even more perks? Join their Wet One membership for 20% off all year long, plus free shipping. Fetish group or club member? Get a free Nefarious Club membership and enjoy 25% off every order. Go to nefariousbydesign.com and elevate your pleasure with purpose.
So I first, well, I don't actually remember when I realized what kink was, but it's something that's always been present in my psyche, but then kink itself has just been a process of discovery and figuring out what things are, and oh, there's a name for that. And I was the only girl in my school that would wear a shiny PVC coat to school, and I had a rubber backpack with like rubber spikes on that I would, it was my pride and joy, and it was, there's something that's always been there with me, but it's been a journey of very much discovering what that is and harnessing it.
Was there any movie or book or any kind of visual that you remember?
Yeah, there was a program that was on Channel 4 very late at night. And if I remember right, it was Friday nights and it was only on for about 30 minutes. And Channel 4 in the UK is like the risque channel.
Yeah.
They can show all the stuff that BBC can't. And it was a program called Eurotrash. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it was,
You have heard of it?
yeah, that was pretty integral to everything. There was nothing vanilla that was ever on there. It was always the biggest and most craziest and most bizarre and most erotic in some weird way. And yeah, that was very much that's been a part of who I am today.
I'll have to check it out. How did this lead to becoming a professional dominatrix?
Um, I didn't become a professional dominatrix until in my books, quite late. I think I was possibly 28, 29. I mean, I'm 36 now. 28, 29 when I really went headfirst full time with it. Again, it was a very slow transition and a journey of realization. And for me, I've always had a life where things have just kind of fallen into place. I've always let things just happen as they're meant to. I've never kind of, I wouldn't say chased anything or forced anything, but obviously you chase success and happiness, but this was something that kind of, the timing was right, the situation was right, that everything was just, there was nothing stopping me from if anything, the situation I was in at the time kind of projected me forward and propelled me into becoming a professional dom because I was quite wrapped up in the lifestyle and very, it was when I wasn't working in the bar, I was online, I was, reading, I was doing absolutely everything I could to immerse myself in it. And I ended up having to move, and I had to move cities, I lost touch with a lot of friends, and it just felt like the right time to make a different transition in my life and a different move. And it was definitely the right one.
Did you have a mentor or did you teach yourself?
Um, no, I mean, no, I didn't have a mentor. I mean, I will always, I consider any woman that I work with, work alongside, am around, anyone that I play with, I'm always learning. Every day is a school day, so I will forever be under mentorship by peers, as you should. But it was very much I took my skill set that I knew in my personal life and just kind of sharpened it and, figured out the real right way of doing things, the correct way, rather than, the horny way. But yeah, it was luckily there was quite a few DOMs, such as Mistress Tess, she was maybe one of the second or third people that I ever filmed with. And so you always pick up, even just on a day, you always pick up lots of, oh, maybe I should do that, or I wouldn't have thought to do things that way. And, there's never a day where I'll think that I'm done and, my learning is over. There's always going to be something that I want to evolve and to make better.
I think that's a good attitude to have, that you're always trying to learn, and
Yeah,
it's very humble.
yeah, too.
Do you have any favorite toys or devices that are what you like to use
Can
in
I show
sessions?
this? Okay, this is not for sessions. This is mine, not for me, but I like to use it. Um, but it's only one because the rest are I've got upstairs a handcrafted leather carry case that I keep everything in. From cheeky shout out Big and Buff Bespoke. But this is a handcrafted London Tanners CPOTK.
Oh, it's very nice.
It's absolutely gorgeous, but I've got a selection of them. But my whole goal is to get the full shebang. But of course, that's money, time and money, and sore bottoms. But the other things I like are hotel shoehorns, and I have a very cheeky hotels if you're watching this. Still let me say, but yeah, I like to use like implements, household implements. But this is one of my favorites because it was so heavy duty. But I had this from a luxury hotel in Chicago when I was there last year. And when you feel the weight of something and it kind of just, you go, oh, it takes you back a little bit.
Do
So
you
that
like impact toys? Like,
love,
yeah.
absolutely love. I'm not, I mean, this is the thing. It depends what kind of mood I'm in because a lot of impact toys require a very strict amount of accuracy. And if I'm playing in my personal life, shall we say, I can be less about the accuracy and more about the moment. Not to say I'm reckless, but I don't really want to be, I don't want to be because I'm a perfectionist, so I'm more thinking about how can I do something better than just being in the moment. Um, so I kind of leave all the crazy toys for my personal life and all the toys that I know I've got a real rigid control over that I can freely just let myself go with it, then those are my session toys. So yeah, I'm still figuring out a lot of whip skills, and I mean even caning is still touch and go for me. Um, but again, I don't know, you overthink it, I overthink it. Especially it's one of those when you try to really get like beautiful straight lines, not overlapping, not wrapping. It's yeah. I think you get a bit OCD with it.
Oh yeah. Do you have any rituals or anything you do to help prepare to get in the headspace before a session?
Not really, no.
What about
Music,
music? Do you
no,
like music during a session or do you prefer silence?
no silence. I mean, it depends. Again, it depends because people that I've played with before can find music off-putting, distracting, and I only know from my experience as a dom that it gets me. It's this, it gets me into a mindset, and it's about the senses for me, and music for me, even in my daily life, is huge. It's a huge part of who I am, but I can really appreciate that for some, the silence is bliss.
Yeah.
Well, the mental silence anyway, and I mean the lack of distractions is probably, heaven in itself. So me putting Led Zeppelin on a lot of the time probably doesn't really keep them in subspace.
What type of music do you prefer? Like Led Zeppelin or
I think every time,
okay.
if I'm in a session, it's so easy for me to just put the discography on and
Hmm.
just let it play. Um, yeah, it's because I'm not really paying attention to it, but there's, when it's on low and it ties in with the the energy and the atmosphere and the low lighting and the breathing, and it just, I don't know, it just adds to me a little bit of like extra
Yeah.
electricity to the moment.
I've heard a lot of different things. I've heard like Enigma, Delirium, even like techno music. So that's interesting. You're the first
Yeah.
person I've heard say like Zeppelin.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
What does subspace and top space mean to you?
Like meditation is the best way I could. It's really the only way I've ever been able to describe it. Um, it's for me. It's sort of like tunnel vision. So you're completely present, but you're just immersed in that one moment. And I mean, all your senses are heightened. You're very aware of everything, breathing, movement. I mean, even eyes, just absolutely everything. It's almost like you're about to strike your prey at that very moment. Everything just becomes magnified. Um, but in a controlled way, in a very not in a crazy way. It's very hard to explain. It's for me, I feel like it's meditation because my day-to-day life is so chaotic and so hectic, and this really is the one time where it's I have one thing to focus on, and this thing is giving me an insane amount of dopamine, and it's all in my control, it's all within my manipulation. It's yeah, it's hard to come out of that. And I mean subspace as well is it's quite similar from what I've been told, but in more of a, well, it's all cathartic, but in a more of very you know, like a release of burdens, responsibilities. You don't, especially when you're giving yourself over in your submission to someone that you trust and you respect and you have that back. It's very freeing, I can imagine. From what I see as well, there's been a lot of aftercare as well that I've given where there's just been a lot of gratitude and a lot of, there's been like an embrace and that need to sort of um, talk about and deep dive into the emotions that come with sort of discovering that, you can just sort of drop the shell
Yeah.
and, just be rather than, and then obviously you've got the reassurance that you've got someone there to catch you if you need to. It's beautiful. It's very freeing and it's very is it meditative? Is that the right word? Like a meditative.
I think I understand what you're saying. That's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah, it's like a trance-like. I mean, some of my toys have said, there's you go into a sort of trance, and I mean, I've noticed it a few times where they become non-responsive, and you kind of have to step out of the scene,
Yeah.
for a second and just check in and be like, "Hey, like, are you okay? Like, this is me talking. Like, are you okay?" And just make sure that they are still working on the same level that you want them to. Um, but yeah, as I said, it's hard to once you're in that space, it's hard to leave it. It's hard to come down and go back to reality, really. And I mean, that's where you get top drop and sub drop and
Yeah.
you've had that huge surge of endorphins and dopamine, and you've been riding that high for, I don't know, an hour, 5 hours, 12 hours, and then all of a sudden it cuts off and it drops, and
Yeah.
that can be a challenge and quite hellish, especially for some. But
I used to have a high stress corporate job, and I liked like when I went to a session, everything just kind of got put on hold for a while. It's like a way of recharging. So I agree with you. Like it's kind of meditative.
recharge, it is, yeah, you take yourself out of that every day and put yourself in the hands of someone that can not break you down and build you back up, but give you that release, that, shed that skin that you're carrying, that dead weight.
Yeah. How
Yeah.
has being a dominatrix affected your relationships and that either like in general, how people treat you or romantic?
Well, romantically, I'd say it's affected me in the way that I want more for myself. My boundaries are stronger and my vision is very clear on what I'll accept and what I want and, what I don't want. Um, but I mean, I I like to think of myself as a very emotionally intelligent person, so I judge who will be comfortable with me telling them what I do as a profession, how I live my life. I treat everyone as an individual, whereas I think before I became a dom, I necessarily wouldn't have done that. One size fits all. This is who I am. This is what I do. But I've got more of a heightened sense of empathy for individual limitations, and I respect that. I don't necessarily force things onto people that they don't necessarily want, but at the same time, when it comes to romantic relationships, that makes things quite hard. And I mean, I'm quite lucky that I haven't really experienced dating per se. Um, I've had lovers, but uh, again, I always think it'll fall into place when it does. I always put myself into the right situations and with the right people at the right time. I think if I wanted a relationship, I would meet them in a kinky environment because that's where I immerse myself, and I know for a fact I could never make it work with, you know, Harry from down the road because it's I'm gonna put my toe in his mouth and he's gonna freak out. So it's more of I'm very accepting of this is the life I have, this is the life I want, and these are the steps I need to sort of to get it. So I'm very aware of, I'm not naive when it comes to dating, and I'm not naive when it comes to um how I could meet someone or any potential for that. But I'm quite fulfilled in all aspects really. I mean, there's nothing really that I lack in the comfort that I do like I get from my cat. So
What's your favorite thing about being a dominatrix or being in the environment of a dungeon or a
mm,
play space?
oh God, the play space is the electricity. It just for me it's got to be the right place though, because and I mean I've worked in some places that are just not inspiring, shall we say, and for me it kind of I don't know. That's I'm all about the senses, and I like everything to be invoked. I don't, so if I walk into a space that's got like harsh lighting and it's bare and unless I'm doing some sort of very intimidating interrogation scene, that's fantastic. But usually I like to lure people into a false sense of security, and that usually happens with soft lighting, soft music, soft furnishings, and it just makes me feel sexy. And it just the atmosphere. I mean, just light a candle, and
So the mood is very important.
mood is so important to me. But it's all there's not really one thing that I don't really enjoy, but apart from maybe admin, maybe having to do taxes
Oh
and
yeah.
that's probably the worst thing, but
Yeah.
the life that it's given me, sort of full time, sort of harnessing every aspect of, my skills and who I am as a person into being a dominatrix. It's taken me places that I could only have ever dreamed. So there's I mean, you can say being around the like-minded people, when you feel that you've finally found your community. You've finally found like I was always kind of an outsider growing up, and I always had friends, and I always, but we were never into the same thing. I was always the strange girl, the weird girl, but now it's like all of my friends are the strange, weird girls,
Yeah.
and we're all hot, and we all use that to our advantage. And yeah, you've got to find joy in everything, or else you're gonna live a miserable life. So there's really nothing that I don't absolutely adore about what I do. I couldn't do anything else. I mean, if you took all my limbs away, I would find a way. There would not be anything stopping me from. And I've had people ask me, am I how long am I going to continue doing this? How long do you see yourself doing this? When do you think you'll retire? And I can't ever see myself, retiring or being able to not chase my lover up the stairs with a hairbrush. Like, that's just a part of who I am. It's, whether I'm humiliating someone or I'm enjoying a game of tease and seduction or I'm, you know, thrashing someone mercilessly. It's, yeah, there's real passion and joy in absolutely everything that I do.
It's a really good attitude. Now, my next question might take a moment for you to think of something, but do you have a crazy or memorable session that immediately stands out to you?
Oh yeah, for sure. Um, I mean, I have loads. I have loads. And it all depends what you consider crazy, because one person's crazy is another person's boring.
Yeah.
But for me, for someone that is insanely, I don't know, desensitized, like nothing surprises me. There was a guy that came to see me. He flew over from Dubai, and I'm sure he's a tourist of other ladies in the UK. But this stood out to me because it to this day it still gives me this reaction of what the hell. But in the most innocent, sort of fascinating way, I will always sort of remember it. Um, so he came over and I adored this. He wanted me to just sit with him with my belly hanging out of in leggings, but with like my belly roll hanging out. And then he wanted me to like make this shape with my hand and blow hot air on his cheek. And I just had to go really close and go and just gently blow hot air onto his cheek. And I mean, this was 3 hours of doing that. And occasionally I'd spit into a tissue, and he'd put it in his pocket for later.
Wow.
Uh, but that, I mean,
It's pretty
yeah,
eccentric.
exactly. It was different. And I mean, it wasn't the usual put this courgette up. You know what I mean? It wasn't the usual, you know. I mean, I'm used to blood and thrashings and prolapses and all manner of things, and just how that works in his mind and what triggered that, and that I found that so fascinating to me, and yeah, that was probably my weirdest but most endearing session.
I love that. My last questions, how should someone explore having a session with the dominatrix for the first time, and how can someone contact you?
Research, 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 research. And not only that, who are their peers? I mean, it's all well and good sort of going on one website and going, oh, she looks great. Have a look at socials. How do they interact? Because you've got to have a really good chemistry and a really good connection, and you can't just find that based off looks. So my advice is research and don't be put off by bad experiences, because that's what leads to growth. And you've got to have a few bad experiences to find the real, you know, to find out what you like and to ascertain what makes you tick, and it helps you put your boundaries in place as well. So I know a lot of people that have had, you know, bad first sessions and it's put them off maybe exploring it with someone else. And yeah, that makes me sad. Don't do that. And yeah, so you can find me dianavonrigg.co.uk. There's also mistressdiana.co.uk. But yeah, have a look on my website and you can contact me via email as well. dianavonrigg@gmail.com. Yeah.
Is there a story behind your mistress name?
There is. So I was working under, and this isn't a well-known story. It's probably an exclusive, actually. I was working under a different name for quite some time. And Miss Kim Rubb, who I would follow on Twitter, would post random facts, just little factoids on a Twitter account. And the one day, a picture of Diana Rigg from Miss Emma Peel from the Avengers
I was wondering. Okay.
came up, and yeah, I was kind of blown away because she's a beauty anyway, and it was
Yeah.
um I think if I recall correctly, British television's first portrayal of a dominatrix and a BDSM sort of scene back in the 60s. I thought that was really inspiring.
She's definitely a good role model. And
Absolutely.
I appreciate you doing this interview and for being in the magazine recently.
Thank
It was a
you.
great photo series.
I appreciate it. I hope to get more to you.